Sometimes we find ourselves in toxic relationships, whether it's with a friend, a family member, or even a partner, people who manipulate, deceive, and drain us emotionally. We ask ourselves, why God? Why did you allow this person into my life? But let me tell you, God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't place you in the presence of a narcissist to destroy you. He does it to strengthen you, teach you, and prepare you for something greater. Every challenge is a lesson, every battle is an opportunity to grow, and every betrayal is a step closer to your divine purpose. If you are hurting, questioning, or feeling trapped, this message is for you. God has a reason, and today we are going to uncover that purpose together. God is strengthening you when you are surrounded by a narcissist. You are in a battlefield of emotions, manipulation, and pain. But understand this, God is not punishing you. He is training you. Just like gold is refined in fire, you are being refined through this storm. The pain, the betrayal, the gaslighting, it is all making you stronger, wiser, and more spiritually aware. God is allowing you to go through this not so you can remain weak, but so you can come out of it unshakable, fearless, and powerful. Boundaries are a divine lesson. Many of us struggle with saying no, standing up for ourselves, and setting healthy boundaries. But when God places a narcissist in your life, He is teaching you to value yourself, protect your heart, and walk in wisdom. A narcissist will push, test, and take everything from you until you realize your worth and say, enough is enough. God is using this experience to show you that you are not meant to be used, manipulated, or broken. You are meant to walk boldly in His strength and wisdom. Your true identity comes from God, not the narcissist. Narcissists try to define you. They tell you who you are, what you're worth, and make you question your own reality. But hear me loud and clear. Your identity is not in their words, their opinions, or their manipulation. Your identity is in God's truth, in His purpose, in His love for you. You are not what the narcissist says you are, what God declares. And God calls you chosen, victorious, and fearfully and wonderfully made. You are a mirror in their life. Sometimes God places you in a narcissist's life, not just for your growth, but for theirs. You are a mirror reflecting truth, love, and righteousness, something they desperately need but refuse to accept. Some will reject you, mock you, and hurt you because your light exposes their darkness. But remember, Jesus was rejected too. Just because they don't change doesn't mean your presence in their life was meaningless. God will use you, even if you don't see the results right away. God is preparing you for something greater. Every battle has a purpose. Every struggle is shaping you into someone ready for greater things. God is allowing this season of pain so that when He elevates you, you will be strong enough to handle it, wise enough to protect it, and humble enough to give Him glory. This narcissist was not your downfall. They were your training ground. They didn't break you. They built you. And when you walk away, you will be stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever before. God allows struggles to refine and strengthen us. Life is filled with struggles. And for many of us, these struggles feel like an unbearable weight. We question why we go through hardships, why pain seems to find us when we least expect it, and why God allows us to endure suffering. But what if I told you that the very struggles you are facing are not meant to break you, but to refine you, strengthen you, and transform you into something greater? What if I told you that the trials you endure are part of God's divine plan to mold you into the person you are destined to become? Throughout history, we see that every great leader, every person of faith, and every warrior of God has gone through a season of intense struggle. It is not a sign of God's abandonment, it is a sign of His preparation. God does not put you through pain without purpose. He does not allow you to walk through the fire without a reason. He is refining you like gold in the fire, burning away the impurities of doubt, fear, and weakness so that you can emerge stronger, bolder, and filled with faith. Think of the biblical stories of endurance and refinement. Take Joseph, for example. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned and forgotten. But did Joseph let his struggles define him? No. He remained faithful. And in the end, God elevated him to a position of great power and purpose, where he saved an entire nation. Imagine if Joseph had given up when he was in the pit. Imagine if he had doubted God's plan when he was in prison. He didn't know that his suffering was preparing him for greatness, but God did. Or take Job, a man who lost everything, his wealth, his health, his family. He endured unimaginable suffering, yet through it all, he remained faithful. He did not allow his suffering to make him bitter, but rather he let it refine him into someone even more faithful. Someone who received double the blessings when his season of suffering was over. Your struggles may feel overwhelming. You may feel like you're walking through a storm that has no end. But what if this storm is not a punishment, but a preparation? What if this hardship is not meant to destroy you, but to make you unshakable? God does not refine those who are meant for small things. He refines those who are destined for greatness. A blacksmith does not shape a sword without putting it through fire. A diamond is not created without immense pressure. And a strong, faith-filled warrior is not built without trials. Every hardship you endure is shaping you into something more resilient, more wise, and more powerful than you could ever imagine. The struggles in your life are your training ground. They teach you to rely on God, to trust in His timing, and to develop a strength that only comes from faith. They strip away the distractions, the doubts, and the fears that hold you back. Every tear you've cried, every moment you've doubted, and every battle you faced is shaping you into the person God is calling you to be. So do not give up. Do not let your struggles define you. Let them refine you. Because God is strengthening you, molding you, and preparing you for something greater than you could ever imagine. The pain of today is the preparation for your victory tomorrow. Stay faithful, stay strong, and trust that God is not done with you yet. Boundaries are necessary for self-worth and spiritual growth. Boundaries are not just walls that separate us from others. They are essential foundations of self-worth, emotional well-being, and spiritual growth. Without boundaries, we allow people to dictate our lives, drain our energy, and rob us of the peace God intends for us. Establishing boundaries is not about rejecting others. It's about honoring yourself, respecting your God-given worth, and creating space for personal and spiritual development. From the very beginning, God established boundaries. He set limits between the land and the sea, the sky and the earth, and even between right and wrong. He instructed Adam and Eve on what they could and could not do, not to control them, but to protect them from harm. Just like God created these divine boundaries, we too must establish limits in our lives to protect our hearts, minds, and souls. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that setting boundaries is selfish. But the truth is, lack of boundaries leads to self-destruction. When we allow people to mistreat us, take advantage of us, or manipulate, we begin to lose sight of our worth. We start believing the lies that we are not deserving of respect, that we must constantly give even when we are empty, that our value comes from how much we do for others. This is not God's plan for you. God calls us to love others, but not at the expense of losing ourselves. Even Jesus, the ultimate example of love and sacrifice, had boundaries. He withdrew from crowds to pray. He rested when needed. And he did not allow people's demands to dictate his actions. When people tried to trap him in their expectations, he responded with wisdom, setting clear spiritual and emotional boundaries. If Jesus knew the importance of boundaries, then so should we. Boundaries teach others how to treat us. If we do not respect ourselves, we cannot expect others to do so either. When we set boundaries, we send a message that says, I am worthy of respect. My time, my energy, and my emotions are valuable. I will not allow mistreatment, manipulation, or emotional exhaustion to take control of my life. Having boundaries also allows us to focus on our spiritual growth. When we are constantly burdened by other people's problems, constantly saying yes when we need to say no, We leave no room for God to work in us. We become so drained trying to please everyone that we have no energy left to nurture our relationship with Him. Boundaries give us the freedom to seek God, to rest in His presence, and to align ourselves with His purpose. One of the biggest tests of faith is standing firm in your boundaries, even when others resist them. People may call you selfish. They may try to guilt you into lowering your standards. But your worth is not dependent on their opinions. It is rooted in God's truth. And God calls you to live a life of balance, peace, and purpose, exhaustion, and emotional servitude. The Bible reminds us in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guarding your heart means setting boundaries. It means protecting your peace, your emotions, and your mental well-being. It means being intentional about who you allow into your life and what you tolerate. Boundaries are not barriers, they are blessings. They empower us to live a life that reflects God's love, while also maintaining our self-respect and emotional well-being. They allow us to give freely, love deeply, and grow spiritually without losing ourselves in the process. So today, choose to honor yourself. Choose to set the boundaries that protect your heart and elevate your spirit. I choose to walk in the confidence of knowing that your worth is not up for negotiation. Because when you value yourself the way God values you, you create a life of strength, peace, and divine purpose. Your true identity is in God, not in a narcissist's false narrative. Your true identity is not found in the opinions, manipulations, or distorted perceptions of a narcissist. It is found in God alone. When you are entangled with a narcissist, whether it be a parent, partner, friend, or co-worker, you may start to believe the false narrative they create about you. They project their insecurities onto you, twist reality to suit their control, and make you question your own worth. But you are not who they say you are. You are who God says you are. Narcissists operate by diminishing others to elevate themselves. They will gaslight, blame, and distort the truth, making you feel unworthy, unloved, and powerless. They will take advantage of your kindness, your empathy, and your patience, using it against you to keep you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and emotional exhaustion. But the enemy's greatest weapon is deception, and a narcissist is often an instrument of that deception. They want you to believe that your value comes from their approval. But the truth is, your value was established long before they ever entered your life. The Bible tells us in Genesis 1:27 that you were created in the image of God. That means your identity is rooted in something far greater, far deeper, and far more powerful than the lies of a narcissist. The enemy will try to steal, kill, and destroy your sense of self. But God has already called you His masterpiece, His beloved, His child. You may have spent years trying to prove yourself to a narcissist, trying to be good enough in their eyes, striving for their approval, constantly walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. Well, let me tell you something, you don't need their validation to be valuable. God already validated you when He created you, when He called you, and when He covered you in His love. One of the greatest dangers of narcissistic relationships is that they cause identity erosion. You start losing sight of your dreams, your joy, your confidence, and even your faith because you are so consumed by their toxic cycle. But the moment you remember who you truly are in Christ, you begin to break free. You begin to see the lies for what they are, and you start reclaiming the truth of your existence. God calls you worthy. The narcissist calls you a failure. God calls you strong. The narcissist calls you weak. God calls you fearfully and wonderfully made. The narcissist calls you flawed and unlovable. God calls you chosen, redeemed, and victorious. The narcissist calls you insignificant. Whose voice will you believe? The Bible says in John 8:32, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The truth is, you were never meant to live under the weight of a narcissist's manipulation. You were never meant to feel small, broken, or unseen. You were designed for a greater purpose, to walk in confidence, to shine in God's light, and to fulfill the calling He has placed on your life. You are not the labels they placed on you. You are not the mistakes they constantly remind you of. You are not a doormat, a tool, or an extension of their ego. You are a child of God. And when you embrace that truth, you take back your power. So today, stand firm in your God-given identity. Speak life over yourself. Reject the lies that have kept you bound. Remind yourself every single day, I am loved. I am chosen. I am free. I am exactly who God created me to be. And no narcissist can take that away.